So Daniel, how are you today?
Oh, I'm good. I'm a little bit tired. This is actually my fourth interview of the day, so it's book launch day. So I've
Yeah.
had to get kicked off early, and I woke up at about 6:30 this morning and hit the gym, and then got hooked into interviews and somehow found a way to get a haircut in the meantime. And here we are. This is my last one of the day, Keith. So.
Wonderful,
So here we go.
wonderful, Daniel. So Daniel, your new book, 12 Laws of the Jungle on Legal Entrepreneurship. So would you like to tell me a bit about this book and what it's all about and who needs to read this book?
Sure. Thank you, Keith. So this book is essentially the 12 principles of entrepreneurship that I've managed to determine and distill and package in a certain way that is engaging and adventurous and instructional for readers. Anybody really who wishes to do better in their own business or do better in their life or get into entrepreneurship, get into business. And that could be really anything, as you probably know by running your own channel here. Running a channel is like running a business.
Yes.
Running a band is like running a business. This is obviously a music industry channel. I learned the 12 laws of the jungle by building a couple of different businesses, both of them actually in South America, Latin America. The first business I built was an ayahuasca healing center in the Amazon jungle in Peru. So I literally built a business inside the Amazon jungle, right? So I learned a lot about life. I learned a lot about business from the actual jungle itself. And a lot of my life philosophy has a strong grounding in nature and natural philosophy. Um, and so I built that business up and didn't quite. I wrote a book about that journey. However, I didn't quite feel qualified to provide any kind of instruction or like any type of insight. It was more like just an inspirational kind of story. And then I sold that business. I came up to Costa Rica and I built another healing center here on the beach in Costa Rica.
Mhm.
Um, and throughout that process, which was a much grander in scale, a much more complex process, a lot more at stake, a lot more economic value at stake, more investors, more employees, all that kind of stuff. I felt inside that pressure cooker, I kind of refined my entrepreneurial methodology. And then, of course, the pandemic lockdowns hit just as that business was stabilized and doing well. Just as I started to write this book, so then this book actually became like a real time wartime journaling play
Mhm.
by play of how these 12 principles of entrepreneurship got applied to carry my business here in Costa Rica through the pandemic lockdowns to come out much stronger on the other side. But then also, I started a band, Savage Existence, with one of my business partners here, Jesse Radford, who's a drummer for Savage Existence. I'm a guitarist, Savage Existence, and and I discovered that these principles not only apply to traditional businesses, but also like for people who are trying to run a band because you have to, when you try to develop a band, you're developing a business inside a market, inside an industry. So all the same principles of entrepreneurship apply to developing a band and hitting the world stage.
Wonderful, wonderful, Daniel. And in your book, you keep on mentioning about the jungle doesn't care. So, what is this thought all about? Because, like in a business, if you don't care, do you think the business will go on? But what is your exact thought behind this, and why did you choose those words to in this book?
Well, I mean, the jungle, the metaphor of the jungle that I utilize in the book is actually like the jungle is the market. It's the environment that you're operating in, right? So you as the entrepreneur, you are basically you have an objective on the other side of the jungle. So you're trying to take you and your tribe or your village through this treacherous jungle to get to the objective, to the destination on the other side. The whole thing is framed in that kind of context, right? So the destination on the other side of that jungle is really, it's your vision, it's the vision, it's the desire, the heart's desire that you want to achieve. In the book we call it the fuck yes life. For my band right now, our fuck yes life is playing for 30,000 people in stadiums. That's a long way off, and that's on the other side of a very dense and risky jungle. So when I say the jungle doesn't care, I mean the market doesn't care. When you go into the actual literal Amazon jungle, if you go walking into the jungle, you're just another organism that becomes part of the food chain. The jungle is not sentimental. The jungle does not care about your feelings or your desires or your mother, or you know what I mean? It's just like the jungle will eat you. The scorpion will kill you. The snake will kill you. The jaguar will kill you. Some of the ants might kill you. Some of the poisonous trees might kill you. Maybe you get trapped in a quicksand and die a slow and agonizing death, just drowning or dehydrating slowly, while bugs like slowly consume your flesh. Like the jungle does not care if you live or die, and neither does the market. So that's law one, because it's probably the most important lesson that entrepreneurs need to know before they start a business, before they invest any money, before they engage any investors, or before they make any really strong commitments to anybody. Because you need to know that if you fail, it's on you. It's not because, like, you can't blame anybody else. You can't be a victim. Like if you walk into that jungle, you have to know that there's a risk that you're not going to come out. And if you don't, it's your fault and nobody else's.
Absolutely. Wonderful. And would you like to tell me a bit about legal entrepreneurship?
Lethal entrepreneurship. So I use the terminology lethal entrepreneur, and it's really, the whole book kind of has a violent tone to it. It's a little bit aggressive. I wanted to be bold and impactful, and that's my style. In our band Savage Existence, we're a very heavy band. We have some violent lyrics and things like that. I use the terminology lethal entrepreneur as really the object of desire for reading the book. And what is a lethal entrepreneur? Well, it's really any entrepreneur who is able to capture and kill what it needs for the village to keep the village alive. When you're in charge of a village, when you're the chief, you've got to keep everybody motivated. You've got to make sure everybody has food in their bellies. You got to make sure everybody has clean water to drink. You got to make sure everybody has security and protection and feels safe and feels the community. And in order to do that, again, your village is only going to let you get away with a couple of errors. If you're constantly telling them you can't pay their paychecks, if you're constantly telling them that, your business is in the red and months away from dying, they're not going to feel safe, and they're going to leave. They're going to go somewhere else. So if you want to keep those people engaged and keep them on your team and keep your village strong, you need to be able to bring home the bacon, so to speak. And that means, getting the right partnerships. That means finding the right investment capital. That means developing the systems and compliance and security in your organization so that your people feel safe with you, and so that they're supporting their own families by staying with you.
Wonderful. And in your book, you have mentioned quite some time about Elon Musk and the success of Tesla. So, is it really an inspiration, or what is the real thought of Elon Musk on your part?
Well, I've always been a fan of Elon Musk. He's a great role model of mine. I actually like his maverick behavior, and I like how he, pushes against the norms and the cultural kind of taboos. Yeah, a lot of people don't like him for that, but I respect that, and I think it's good. He speaks his mind. He always speaks his mind, and I believe he's got the best intentions at heart. And he wants to see a very healthy planet and healthy society. And he's obviously contributed a lot of really remarkable technologies to bringing that about. But aside from that, I talk about Elon Musk in the book in chapter 5, law 5, um, map your route. And map your route is basically um, it's a chapter about strategy. It's about, once you've decided, you've decided where that you want to go, where you want to take the company. In Elon's case, this is his destination is helping to transition the world onto renewable energy, right? But he knew that in order for him to get to where we were, to where he wanted to be, he would have to change public opinion first. So as part of his strategy, even though his goal was to make millions and millions and millions of energy efficient, small, compact, affordable family cars, sedans, he knew that in order to get there, he had to change public opinion. So what did he do? He made like this incredibly high performing, fast, super expensive, only for rich people, $200,000 roadster. But the reason he did that was not because he wanted to make cars only for rich people. He just needed to prove to everybody that electric cars could go faster, that they could go longer, that they could last longer, and that they could be equipped with better technology than gasoline vehicles. And he made these incredible models of high-end luxury vehicles, which then got him the market share and got him the profit so he could invest in these lower margin, affordable, $30,000 Model 3 compact sedans that are, some of the top selling vehicles in the world right now. And that was his ultimate goal, to reach this kind of to swap the gasoline powered internal combustion engines with renewable energy technology.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. And you are the CEO of Soltara Healing Center. So would you like
Yes,
to
sir.
tell me a bit about the work you do and how people can reach out to you and what they can expect from you in this healing center?
Have you ever heard of ayahuasca?
Yes.
Yes. Are you a spiritual guy?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Okay. So ayahuasca is it's really a spiritual plant medicine. It originates in the Amazon jungle,
Mm.
and it's made from two different plants: the ayahuasca vine, which is the Banisteriopsis capi, and then the chacruna leaf, which is the Psychotria viridis. And by mixing these two plants together, you get like a pot of water. So the indigenous traditions of the Amazon, they discovered this thousands of years ago. And they of course the whole Amazon jungle is like a big pharmacy for them, all these different medicinal plants that all have different uses, different functions. And so they discovered long ago that by mixing these two plants together, boiling them in a pot of water over a campfire, and condensing it, filtering it, and condensing it down into a type of syrup, what you get is an orally active uh, uh, concentrate that contains dimethyltryptamine or DMT, as well as some kind of mood enhancing harmaline alkaloids that affect the serotonergic system and improve people's sense of well-being. So this is really, it's an ancient indigenous tradition that we have helped to bridge a gap to between Western travelers and indigenous healers. So we really consider ourselves a bridge between those two cultures, and we have our primary location here in Costa Rica, called Soltara Healing Center. It's on the Pacific Coast, and we host retreats. So basically, week-long retreats. In each retreat, we have four of these psychedelic healing ceremonies with ayahuasca, and we bring up Peruvian shamans and healers, curanderos from the Amazon jungle. So it's exclusively done with these Peruvian healers. I've been working with Peruvian healers since maybe 2012, something like that. They're very close to my heart. And all of our facilitators, we have a staff full of highly experienced professional facilitators that trained with the Peruvian healers. So they all kind of participate in serving this medicine to our participants who come from all over the world, but mostly, United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, some countries in South America, and also from Africa, a little bit in Asia as well. And so people come and their goal is to really dive deep into their own psyche, their own spirituality, do some energy work, and have visions. And there's so many different potential positive benefits that ayahuasca can provide. A lot of people are experiencing help with PTSD or with depression or with anxiety. Um, and many other different elements, just finding your path in life or improving relationships, improving your career, becoming more artistic or more creative, things like that. So we have people from all over the world. They come and they do these retreats with this psychedelic plant medicine from the Amazon and these indigenous Peruvian healers from the Amazon, from the Shipibo culture. And yeah, it's going very well. So I started off by building one of these in the Amazon back in 2014. I lived in the Amazon for 3 or 4 years, working with these indigenous down in the Amazon, living in the jungle, and then sold that place and moved up to Costa Rica. And now we just have a nicer place on the beach, a luxury facility, and we actually we're developing a second full-time facility here in Costa Rica. And right now, we also have a couple of joint ventures with another place in Costa Rica and also a place in the Amazon jungle down in Peru in Tarapoto. So it's going very well. And after developing this organization, keeping us alive through the pandemic, and then coming out much stronger on the other side, we're thriving right now. I felt qualified to share some of the things I've learned about entrepreneurship.
Wonderful, wonderful, Daniel. And do you have plans to expand Soltara Healing Center around the globe?
Well, it's a little bit tricky because ayahuasca is not legal in every single country, right? It's becoming more and more accepted. We might be looking at a place in Canada, for example. We might eventually be looking at a place in like Oregon on the west coast of the United States, for example. Mexico is a potential option. Colombia is a potential option. Um, and and uh, yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on we definitely would like to continue growing, but there's some limiting factors like access to the actual plant medicine. It takes 7 or 8 years for the plants to grow to maturity so they can be used. So, if there's been excessive harvesting from the wild in Peru, it takes a little bit of time to grow them back. There is lots of planting and lots of cultivation going on, so it's not like the plant is in short supply. But then transporting internationally can be a bit of an issue. So, for example, here in Costa Rica, we have a supplier right here in Costa Rica who began the whole planting process like 9 or 10 years ago, and now has this beautiful, jungle property in Costa Rica with all these beautiful big plants, who cooks the medicine for us here, and so we don't have to transport it across borders. Um, but like if we were to say go to Mexico, we would have to transport the medicine into Mexico, and that kind of opens up a little bit of additional risk. And as of now, there's not a lot of um, clear regulation around transportation of this kind of stuff. And then also, there's also somewhat of a limitation on really highly qualified healers and highly qualified facilitators who are working with the healers. It's a very popular practice right now, as you may have seen. There's documentaries on Netflix. There's Vice News. There's all kinds of articles in all kinds of different newspapers and magazines around. I mean, we've been in the New York Times, we've been in the Financial Times, we've been in the Wall Street Journal, and so it's getting quite a lot of mainstream attention. Which is, and there's celebrities of all different types and stripes are coming to drink ayahuasca. We had Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox at our place here not too long ago, and then they went on late night television on Jimmy Kimmel and on Howard Stern and all this. So a lot of people hear that stuff. Um, we just had a recent Super Bowl quarterback star here at the center, and then he went over the news, and Aaron Rodgers and told everybody. about his experiences. And so there's just so many people creating such a conversation that there's such a high demand. So there's no shortage of demand, but then being able to adequately service that demand, that's where the real trick is.
Got it. Wonderful. And going to Savage Existence. So you're planning to release your next album probably in 2023. So how is that work coming up, and how close you are into the completion of the album?
Yeah, so our second album, we actually got it done really quickly after launching our first album. So we launched our first album in November of last year, so it's almost a 1 year anniversary. And then we went on tour with Monstrosity in Mexico, and we went directly to Las Vegas after Mexico, and we recorded the full second album with Logan Mader, our brother, our producer, and he just joined us as a third guitarist on our most recent tour with Sepultura in Mexico. So of course Logan Mader is he's world renowned guitarist from Machine Head and Soulfly, one of the founding guitarists of Machine Head, and he just recently did the 25-year Burn My Eyes reunion tour with Machine Head, where I went and hung out with him in Denver backstage with all the guys. He's also produced a number of gold albums for bands such as um, um, Five Finger Death Punch, Gojira, Cavalera Conspiracy. He's worked with Dee Snider. I mean, the list goes on. I think he's got like 87 credits or something like that to his name. So he's a great producer, and we went and recorded this album with him last December. And so we've been sitting on this album all year. We released one single in April called Dumpster Water,
Yeah.
but we decided to change course with distributor. So we've been kind of sitting on this music all summer, and we finally got a deal with a different distributor, and they're going to help us a little more with marketing and stuff like that. So we're gonna start launching. Our first single comes out in about a week on I think November 2nd or November 4th. A single called Cull, and like Cull, and we're gonna be dropping a single maybe like once every 2 months or so
Yeah.
until April, and then the full album will come out in April. And then away we go. In the meantime, we're going to be trying to get tour options down in South America while we wait for a US visa.
Mm.
And then hopefully we'll be in Europe doing some festivals in the spring and summer of next year, supported by a concert circuit.
Wonderful, wonderful. And does this new album has some kind of concept, or is just a generic album?
It's going to be it's a self-titled album. It's the first one where we really came together as a band, where we're working like with legitimate moving parts, with legitimate budget, with legitimate distribution, a legitimate manager, legitimate touring behind us, stuff like that. So the first album was kind of um, it was very emergent. It was kind of serendipitous. It wasn't like we had been playing together for years and here's our big album release. No, it was like me and my drummer started playing together after several years being apart. And then we started picking up our old songs. And then we brought Logan down to do a demo. And then we got a full album worth of instrumentals. Then we found a singer. Then we found the other bass player, another guitarist. We added some parts to the album. Then we had that first album. With this one, it was a collaboration between all of us, and definitely a level up from our first album. So we're very excited, but it's a pretty it's kind of like all of our music and my book. It's meant to be very visceral and very brutal and a little bit violent, but also motivational and kind of inspiring and positive in a sense. I actually took some of the lyrics right out of my book for this album, right? So like some of the things that we talk about in the book just go straight into the music, um, which is kind of cool because it's all about really trying to teach people to be mentally strong and to be personally accountable and to be self-sustaining and like self-reliant and self-determined and go out and get what they want from life and be the predator, not the prey. But there are some dark songs on it. Cull is a very dark song, very apocalyptic. Matricide is a little bit sad and apocalyptic. Um, but there's a good variety of songs. They're really good songs. We have actually some guitar solos from Gary Holt
Mhm.
of Slayer and Exodus.
Yep.
Three guitar solos from Gary Holt on the album, actually really, really banging solos. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, we're excited to finally get this music out there and start promoting it.
Wonderful, wonderful. And an author, a musician, and a CEO of an organization. So how has these all things clubbed together? And how we were able to manage all these things?
Well, the first step, of course, was building a successful business, which I could then, you know, hire people to do most of my work for me. So I probably don't spend more than like 5 or 10 hours a week on my business, right? And I mainly just decide things. Like I hardly ever open my computer. I do most of just emails on my cell phone or whatever, and I'm mostly just uh, I spend most of my time just surveying the landscape and then deciding things, or answering questions or fixing things when things get messed up. Like if there's a legal problem or if there's a operational problem that my staff can't solve. Um, but so that being the first step, being able to develop a very stable and profitable business and then outsource my work to other people was what allowed me to then focus on, spending both time and money on the band because the band requires a lot of money. It's also being in a growth phase. There's just there's a ton of work that goes into growing a band. It's like any other business that's in the startup phase. You have to really put a lot of time and effort into developing the actual entity itself. So I probably spend, no, not probably, I definitely spend more time on the band than I do on my own business, right? At this point. And then the book, kind of the same thing. Like, um, I hired a co-author, so I didn't do any of the hard, sitting in front of a computer and writing. I paid a guy to do that, and we had interviews, and all the knowledge came from my brain and was kind of uh, uh, presented in a certain way by a professional writer to be engaging and digestible and succinct and to the point and entertaining rather than just being, I'm not a professional writer. So if I were to try to write a book, then I would probably write a boring book. There would be too much info. I wouldn't know how to edit it. But it was a collaboration. Like every single, I would provide a write up of the chapter in the beginning, and then we would have interviews. He would flesh out all of the points I was making, and he would edit some things out and add some interesting things. And then of course the chapters would get done, and then we would have back and forth, and I would edit some things out or add some things or suggest some things. And so that was the process. So it's really it all started out first of all with developing a highly successful business, which allowed me the resources to then branch out and engage in other projects and also build my team of people so that I can share the workload because I can never do all of this by myself.
Good. Thank you, Daniel. And would you like to share some of the exciting moments that you had in Amazon Forest during your years of time traveling there?
Wow, it was quite an amazing time. So I went there. Um, my little business. So I started just running kind of group tours down there. So small groups. I would be the tour guide, and I would be I was just a one man show at that time. So I would guide people down into the Amazon and guide them through this experience with other shamans. And that I did that for about 2 years, and it got to a point where it was getting busy. So I realized I needed my own center, my own place, my own infrastructure. And so, there was one village in about 4 hours outside of Iquitos, Peru, and the only way to get there is by boat. Um, so they have these boats called peque peques, which is like you probably I take it you're from Asia, some India or
Yes,
something like that.
yes,
Yeah.
of course.
So you guys probably have a lot of these boats down there. It's like a two-stroke engine or something with a
Yes, yeah,
long
yes,
tail with a propeller, right? So in Peru they call those peque peques. They're slow but they're cheap to run, right? So like a wooden boat with one of these on the back. And so we have to take those out to the facility. So I found this place way out in the middle of the jungle, right beside a big reserve called the Pacayas Amiria National Reserve, and it was like 8,000 kilometers in all directions of just pure like virgin rainforest,
yeah.
right on this big Ucayali River that was like 600 meters wide. Um, and I go to this village and I needed a place to build a center. So I went out there, and at the time the land was flooded. So I go and I talk to the village mayor, and he takes me on a paddle
Yeah.
canoe, like a stand up canoe, paddling through the swamp. Going into this property, and he says, there's anacondas everywhere, and like crocodiles and piranhas and like pink dolphins and things like that. And he takes me to this property. He says, "You can build here." Um, and he's like, I'll give you this land, but you have to give my people jobs. You come build your place here, but you have to then employ our village." So, but he had to get the village to agree. So I went out there again, and they had like a big, uh, village meeting,
Mhm.
and I think there were about 300 people that lived in the village, just a little square village. All the houses are built up on stilts because in the wet season the water comes up and the whole everything becomes a river. So
Yeah.
it's built in the floodplain, and so I went and had a meeting with the whole village, and presented my idea in Spanish, and I had my jungle guide with me, Victor, who helped me with the Spanish when I was not doing so well, and he helped give me like a good reference and everything like that. And they approved it. They had the same deal. They said, well, you can come and work with us here in our land as long as you bring employment opportunities. So then I went out back there a couple months later. I borrowed $20,000 to augment the revenues that I was bringing in already from my company. And I went out there and I hired the guys from the village to help me build a lodge there in the middle of the jungle. And there was no like lumber stores around. They go out in their canoes out into the jungle, and they cut down a tree, and then they haul the tree back, and they cut the big tree into little pieces, and like planks and boards, and then they built this lodge for
Wow.
me.
Yeah.
And then it became this beautiful place that I ran and lived in for like 3 years. Top rated ayahuasca center in Peru. And it was fantastic. I just got tired of living in the jungle, so I sold the place and came up to Costa Rica to live on the beach instead.
Wonderful, wonderful, Dale. Thanks for sharing. And upcoming plans. Do you have plans to write more books in the future? And what are your ideas on that?
Yeah, my next book is going to be called How to Become a Rock Star in 1 Year.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
It'll be like rocking in the jungle or something like that.
So it's gonna relate with the jungle as usual.
I think so. My first book was Pulse of the Jungle. This is
Yeah.
12 Laws of the Jungle, and the next one might be like Thrashing the Jungle or something like that. We'll see.
Wonderful. And any chance of moving from jungle to the ocean?
To where?
To the sea, the beach, to the beach. So you stayed in jungle, now you're in beach. So any thoughts of bringing
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
your
yeah,
life
yeah.
to sea and your writings?
We'll see. That'll be for the brainstorming process when we get to that point. For now, I've been working on this book for like the last two and years and several months, maybe 2.5 years. I am ready for a break on the books for now. I'll wait until once we're playing for 10 or 15,000 people every show with Savage Existence, then I'll write a book. I'll promise you that.
Wonderful. And you are called the Indiana Jones of entrepreneurship. So how do you feel about that title?
I think it's kind of cheesy, but it's like it kind of I'm a little more uh comfortable right now, but earlier on, I was maybe a little more adventurous in the entrepreneurship. But I started as an entrepreneur around 30 years old, and I was deep into like adventure travel then. And then, after about 35, I started to get a little more complacent and kind of comfort driven. And now, I'm all about the comfort. So, so I don't know if I'm so much of an Indiana Jones anymore, but maybe that was a good title for me in the past. I don't know.
Good, good. And would you like to take Savage Existence to the other part of the world? Right now, you are morely concentrated on North America and South America. So, what are your plans to bring it to Europe and Asia?
Yeah, well, we're working on Europe. We're working on several festivals in Europe. We want to travel the world. We want to hit every single major city in the world, except for maybe, some select places that are a little bit undesirable or dangerous. But yeah, we're basically working on the US, we're working on Europe, we're working on South America, we're working on Australia. I really actually wanted to go to travel Russia and Ukraine, but that's a little bit difficult right now. Um, but we'll see what happens in the future. There, our lead singer is Russian, so he speaks Russian, and we were very excited about trying to get something going there, but there's obviously some major problems in that area. But we'll hit every single market. We want to go everywhere. So it's just a matter of time and strategy and planning.
Wonderful. And finally, do you have any message for the fans?
Thank you for listening. I appreciate your time. I know you have many different things to focus your time on, but yeah, I definitely recommend going out and checking out what we have to offer here. The book is really good. If you guys are interested in building your own band or building your own practice or building your own, self-employment or building your own business, your own company, doing anything you want, this book will help you be better at what you do. Um, and so, definitely check out the book, 12 Laws of the Jungle, How to Become a Lethal Entrepreneur. And our band, Savage Existence, is also super kick ass. If you guys like metal, it's got like a 90s metal vibe mixed with a little bit of kind of Southern death metal. Um, it's really cool. It's modern. It's well produced. It's very heavy. And come out and see us when we play live. That's all at savageexistence.com or Savage Existence Official on social media. And then of course, Soltara Healing Center for any of you folks who are interested in plant medicines or ayahuasca or exploring psychedelics. Check out soltara.co, or check out Soltara Healing Center on Instagram and social media. My Instagram is at Daniel C. Cleland. That's Cleland, or at danielcleland.com. You can buy my book there. And right now, actually, for this week, we have a highly discounted Kindle version of 99 cents, only 99 cents, so that people can grab the book, read it quickly during the first week, and then go and leave me a 5-star review.
Awesome, awesome, Daniel. And Daniel, I want to thank you so much for giving me today this wonderful opportunity to have you on this interview to talk on the 12 Laws of the Jungle and about Savage Existence upcoming album and a lot of great things. Thank you so much for your time. And I appreciate all your time today. And thanks so much for the amazing book and great heavy metal music for the fans around the globe. Thank you so much for that. And I wish you all the best in the coming days.
Thank you, Keith. I appreciate you.
Take care, Daniel. Bye bye.
Bye.